The following podcast is an enticing media production.
Where the Nell have you been? Join us for conversation about life, business, and everything in between. Welcome to What the Nell, where we've got stories to tell. Here's your host, Nell Tice.
Hello, and welcome back to another brand new episode of the What the Nell podcast with yours truly, Nell Tice. This is a special episode today. This is a solo episode, and it is my love letter to all of my fellow entrepreneur friends. And it's something that I've actually been thinking about doing for a while, but this week kind of hit extra hard. Like, you should do this. I had a couple of experiences myself where I thought maybe I could use an episode like this. And I had a couple of conversations this week with people that I thought, you know what, they could use an episode like this. So I hope that this is something that resonates with you and we can all find common ground and maybe even connect on. So I think, I usually do my call to action at the end of each episode, but I think I'll do it now. So let me know if this episode does resonate with you. Drop me an email, enticingmedia@gmail.com, and that's ENTICEING media@gmail.com. And that email address will be changing soon. So I'm excited about that. But because that's one thing that I looked up this week. I saw somebody say, Gmails are not professional anymore. You can't use them, blah, blah, blah. And there's always like this push and pull of what you should be and should not be doing. And I thought, well, that was just clue number one that I need to do this episode, right? So anyway, dear fellow entrepreneur friends, I hear you, I see you, and I know that you're struggling in some area. And one of the biggest tip-offs that I got recently was understanding that somebody was branding themselves, portraying themselves to be somebody that they weren't. And unfortunately, it was somebody that I respected in this world. And I should say on this journey. And the disappointment when you find that out is just kind of like, man, you question what you've been doing, what you've learned from them, and how do you implicate some of these lessons now that you're learning that you've found out that they aren't who they really are. And it really just causes you to think. So, I've always been a proponent of never leading in to something with a however many figure business owner I am. I will tell you right now, and there will be people that will say, well, that's because you're not a high ticket business owner and that's why you're saying this. I don't believe that to be true because I know what my values are, and it's not to tell people that I'm an 8-figure business owner as the lead into my bio. If that's why you're here, I thank you for being here, but that's not who I am. So encouraging people to lead in with that, I think it's not taking them down the right path for them. I think that if that's what works for you, great. If it's true, even better. But I would highly doubt that the majority of people that are saying that are actually 8-figure business owners. 7-figure, even some 6-figure. And I have no qualms about saying that because that's just what I've come to find out lately is that there's a lot of facade. There's a lot of presentation, public facing, and that's what it really is just presentation. And I understand that there are people that really that's what they're into and that's what they want to hear. That's fine. But I just need realness. So, you know what? It's just, I don't know. It helps me sleep better at night. But anyway, that's kind of how I'm leading in here because it's kind of what tipped me off on, you know what? You should probably do this episode. So I also want to tell you that a failure is not a bad thing. I know you know this, but understanding that success isn't going to be your life story every single time you do something is really key, because it humbles you. It also, it creates reality, because nobody does something that is successful 100% of the time. The only way that you can guarantee you won't be successful, though, is if you don't take the risk, if you don't shoot your shot. And so you have to try these things. Trial and error is how everyone gets by. At some point, every entrepreneur did trial and error. And a very good friend of mine reminded me yesterday, when you do these things often enough, eventually something will stick. Something will have to give. And that's just the way it works. There's no real science behind it. There's no percentage, no statistic, no anything that can actually prove any sort of guaranteed number about how successful you will be with any of your ideas. So just know that. Let some of that pressure be taken off of your shoulders and go into everything that you do excited, passionate, and just know that maybe the expectations are a little high, maybe they're a little low, but learn for the next time, even if you're super successful or you're not. So take all of that. Everything should be a lesson, and take that into the future. And I think that has also been really helpful for me, is realizing that, not every week, not every month, day, second is going to be absolutely successful. I think I've mentioned plenty of times that, I've started off the day great and then ended it crying in a corner with like a box or a can of Pringles or something. And this roller coaster, because that's what it is so wild, and it's so natural to get all of that in one single day. Sometimes one single hour. That's totally normal. And if that's what you're getting at and that's what you're experiencing, tell me, let me know. I'm here for you. And let's talk about it together, because I don't think that entrepreneurs talk often enough about the stuff that we feel like we have to keep behind our office doors. And that's also something that I want to talk about, but I'll get to that later on because it has to do with my story from this week. But I also want you to know, if you're struggling in the hiring department, I understand that what is out there right now, the workforce is very different from how even I was raised. And I'm a millennial. I was raised to work very hard, and there are still people out there that do. I think that there's more people that you have to filter through to get to them. And because I don't want to say some generalized term like no one wants to work. I don't think that's true at all. But I think that there's just more of a process to go through now, more red tape to get to those people that are truly valuable to your company and to your vision and your business. So just more work. That's what it is. But you know what? More is more. I don't know what else to say about that. But I truly believe that the right people for your team are out there, because there are people out there absolutely crushing it with their team, and they're like families and they love what they do, and it's amazing to see. But yeah, not every hire is going to be the one. So just know that. But equally, as hard as it is to find people to work amazingly with your team or you, it's just as hard to find a job these days. Somebody that I knew a long, long time ago was mentioning somewhere on social media about how she's gone through a handful of jobs now that she took where they were looking for someone full time, and I think her area of expertise is very specialized. And she took these jobs. Of course, they've got trial periods and things like that, and every single one of them, it was kind of like, okay, we're done with you. You've provided everything that you needed for us, so we're done. You can move on. And I get that. That's really difficult too. I mean, how do you know? We always say that one of the biggest risks that we take as entrepreneurs is being just that, separating ourselves from the 9 to 5 and going full time and working for ourselves. And we used to say that the 9 to 5 was secure and, that steady paycheck, but are they really? 9 to 5 jobs are not as secure anymore. At least there's the illusion that they're not. If they are secure and you have a job that you are completely secure in, that you're never going to lose to someone else, you let me know. I want to know what that job is, because I don't think anything is secure anymore. I think the only security blanket that we have is ourselves. You're the only person that you can control. You can control your reactions to things, and you have more control over outcomes than anything else around you. So don't put this false narrative in your head that anything outside of your control is secure. So there's that. But, something else that I know I tend to deal with is a lack of focus, especially for those of us that maybe work in the home by ourselves. Everybody's got virtual team members these days, and I don't have an office or building that I go into every day where I work with a group of people in person anymore. And sometimes I find it hard to focus. And, I'm very, obviously we have a media business. I'm very technology based. So if something's not working right and I need to try to fix it, I go down a rabbit hole for an hour on a very small portion of what I was trying to figure out, because I went into a Reddit article and read about this and how I could be streamlining this and doing that. And I'm like, and before you know it, I'm an hour behind on my calendar, and, the whole downward spiral of all that stuff. But yeah, lack of focus. So I think that trying to find things to help us to do that, whether it's a supplement or even classical music or something else that's proven to help you, is really important. And knowing what you need and what your body needs and what your boundaries are extremely important and will definitely help with focus. And I was just telling somebody last night, nobody's perfect. When you have to listen to you. And also part of this is when it feels a little selfish because you're used to having to go into a job where you were working for someone else and making their money for them and making them successful and answering to them. And now that you answer to yourself, it almost feels a little like, I feel guilty because maybe you aren't feeling well and you have to cancel a meeting or something like that. And you automatically think that people are going to be upset with you because maybe that's how it used to be at your job. And that gets easier over time. But it's not that it doesn't happen, and it still happens now. And I think that's just a very human thing to feel like you're being judged for that when you are listening to yourself. So I think that once you get past that point, that's real growth, like for real. So another thing that I also struggle with that I think a lot of entrepreneurs do is realizing that you're not good at everything. You can be great at a lot of things. You can be good at a lot of things, but you're not awesome at everything. This is why really successful companies hire people to do things that they either don't want to do or just lack the skill in or want to pay somebody else because they can, because that's how you grow. But you're not good at everything. I realize I'm the creative in our business. I do the actual work right now. And, I have people that help me do that work. But I'm doing that work. I'm not good at sales. I'll tell you that right now. And I'm not good at the numbers. I'm just all of that stuff that I got to be honest, I don't even like it. And I understand that goes hand in hand, and maybe if I did like it, I would want to learn more. I don't know, but I'm not good at everything. So, my husband and I do this ourselves, and I'm grateful to have him. He does the back end work, like the numbers and things like that. But we're not good at everything. And that's okay. You're not supposed to be, because you're still a human. You're actually not a machine, even though you think you are sometimes. You're just not. So it's okay to realize that and accept it. And, another thing is realizing that risks are scary. You took the ultimate risk by making that leap into working for yourself. And there will continue to be risks along the way, especially if you're growing. And you might get opportunities that you think, I wasn't ready for this. And I don't know if I can do this. Like, these things are running through your head. Can I afford this? Can I fit this into my schedule? And all of those things. And you have to understand that I believe that these things come our way when they're meant to. That's for sure. But you have to understand that there is something out there that is telling you you're ready. You're either ready to try to figure out how to make this decision. That might be all it is. But you're also ready to maybe accept this opportunity. So you have to have your own process in how you come to these decisions, because I don't know your books. I don't know what your calendar looks like. I don't know what your capacity as a human looks like. Only you can control that. And that's really, really important, because I'd hate to see you pass up an opportunity that is amazing and will work out for you. But I'd also hate to see you regret not taking it. And I don't even want to say I don't want to see you fail, because I don't think you'd fail at all if you took the opportunity or didn't take the opportunity, because I don't know what that looks like for you. So, just know that these opportunities, while they seem like, the timing's not great, just think about it. Just really, really think about it. And yes, every risk is scary. If it wasn't scary, it wouldn't be worth it. So just food for thought in that way. But I'm going to get to, I think, two of the biggest things that I feel like a lot of entrepreneurs deal with, and I've definitely dealt with just recently and throughout the entire journey. I think these are the last two biggest things. One is the loss of support from people you thought were your most supportive people in your circle. And I actually did an episode about your circle with Steve Trott, my co-host for the Don't Follow Me series, which I'll get to at the end of this. But I had a lot of people in my life that I realized were super acquaintances and, obviously friends and things like that. And you have this idea, because everybody fits into a place in your life. And then you have this idea of how everything's going to look. And then when you start making some of these decisions and they start acting a certain way, and you're like, I don't understand. It just doesn't make any sense, because you saw them in a certain light. And then all of a sudden you understand either what their agendas were, or how they really feel about you, or maybe they've got something going on that your situation doesn't resonate with theirs. And it's just time. Maybe your relationship has run its course. There's all kinds of different reasons, but I've had a lot of disappointment in some relationships that I've had in my life that still to this day, I think that's one of the biggest things that I deal with. And nobody ever really talks about it. I mean, you'll watch an Instagram reel or TikTok that'll say, yeah, you will lose friends, you'll lose support and all that kind of stuff. But nobody ever actually goes into depth about it, about how it still hurts. Even if you found out somebody wasn't who they were 2 years ago, it doesn't change. It kind of just gets easier to deal with. So that's disappointing. But that being said, I've created new relationships where I'm actually stunned. I've had people in my life for nearly 20 years that have not shown what I thought was appropriate support at certain times. And I've known people for, 1 year that have shown more support than those people have in 20 years. And that's just the way it is. That's how it rolls. And it's the reconfiguration of your circle, and you have to accept that. And I know it sucks, it's difficult, but be grateful for the new relationships that you've formed, because obviously what you're doing is shifting things, and it's shifting them in the right direction. But yeah, people come into your life for different reasons, some for different seasons. And that's okay, because I think out of everything, what this has all taught me is that evolution continues. Nothing stops. Everything continues to move, no matter what position you're in or not. And yeah, it all just keeps moving. So with the good comes the bad comes the good. So just realize that, and don't take everything so incredibly seriously that it disrupts or ruins or anything like that, because the only person's energy that you really need to be focusing on is yours. It's true. It really is. So obviously it's great to have that support, especially when you need it. And just be grateful. Just be grateful. But lastly, I'll round this out with my week. So, I for some reason this year, I just seem to be getting all of the sicknesses, like the illnesses, like viruses and things like that. And I usually pride myself on not getting sick very often, but the whole month of February, I feel like I was sick. And this past Tuesday was that way again. There's a stomach thing going around, and I was up all night and feeling like absolute garbage. And then early in the morning, found out that a family member had passed away, and I was done with the day before the sun even rose. And I was like, well, if this is how the day's going so far, I don't think I'm getting out of bed unless I have to, because, there were times I had to. And entrepreneurs are humans too. We get sick, things happen in our lives and things like that. But, the whole no days off thing, I always go back and forth, because Tuesday when that happened, I felt like I can't take the day off. I just can't. I have too much to do. I had banked on this day as an in-office day, getting all client work done and things like that. And if I missed the whole day, that would put me so far behind. And I'd have to work into the weekend when I spend time with my own family and all of the things that are running through your head. So I pushed through, I got up, did what I had to do to get me in a position that I was okay for the rest of the week, and maybe just could spread things out, through the rest. But it was one of those days where I felt like, yeah, no days off. Whereas an employee could just call in sick and say, yep, no, I'm not coming in. And, we don't get bereavement pay. We don't get PTO. We don't get any of that stuff. And some people that work 9 to 5s might be like, yeah, that's why I work for a company and I get great benefits and all this stuff. But you know what? I wouldn't change it. Wouldn't change it for the world. And interestingly enough, there's been studies done, and I found this on LinkedIn, courtesy of Startup Snapshot. So I want to tell you about some statistics. 72% of founders struggle with mental health. Okay. This doesn't surprise me. At some point, it's a guarantee. You're going to struggle with something, especially if you're doing this. 37% suffer from anxiety. 36% experience burnout. 54% of founders say they are very stressed about their businesses, with the fear of failure being the main stressor. 81% of founders hide their stress, fears, and challenges from others, and more than half hide their stress from their own co-founders. That's an insanely high number. If we talk about this more, especially with people that get it, I would love to see this number come down because I feel like that in turn may help some of the mental health numbers go down too. I don't know. Have you ever heard of girls' night or guys' night? Just having a drink with a friend or chat, and doesn't that make you feel a little bit better? And you didn't have to go see a therapist or anything. Not that there's anything wrong with that. I'm actually searching them out, but I think it does more for you than some people even realize. But 77% of founders refuse to seek qualified professional help. And that's really kind of scary. And, there's stigmas. And of course, our self-employed insurance is a joke, things like that. There's a lot of things in there, I feel like. But anyway, that's for another conversation. 93% of founders would do it all again, even in light of so many forms of suffering. 93%. What does that tell you? So, yeah, all in all, it's totally worth it. And I've heard somebody say before, if you're not breaking down crying and wishing that you are thinking about going to get a job at McDonald's at least once a week, are you even an entrepreneur? I mean, it's kind of funny, but not really. But yeah, so that's my love letter to all of you. And I'd love to have more conversations about this. If you want to be a guest on this podcast and talk about this, let me know. I'd love to have you on. And I think I'll put the link for scheduling a meet and greet in the show notes. So do that, because I think that the more that we can all talk about it, the better we'll all at least feel about it temporarily until we can find a mental health expert. So, and yeah, I'm not a mental health expert. So this is just from personal experience, and I feel like I could relate. So if any of this does resonate with you, again, send me that email. All of the information is in the show notes. And, if you do want to chat, if you want to send me a rage email or something, anything, just know, unless you tell me that you specifically want me to use it for content, your secret's safe with me. So, all right, you guys, I am going to leave you here on this one. I hope that you enjoyed, got some sort of value out of this episode. And, but before I do go, I want to mention to you that I know I said that the Don't Follow Me series would be coming back this week. Instead, you got this episode. I would assume it will probably come back at some point here soon. I may make some changes to it. Not sure about that yet, but I made a commitment to you, so I want to be sure that I honor that. Just know that sometimes, things evolve, and yeah. So it will come back in one way, shape, or form. And I'm excited for you to hear the rest of that. And I'm excited for you to hear some more awesome episodes. So stay tuned, subscribe to the podcast, like this, subscribe on YouTube, and leave us a review. That's how we grow. So I'm really grateful for all of you taking the time to listen. And thank you so, so much. And as always, I will see you on the next one.
To learn more about how to tell your story, connect with Nell at enticingmedia.com. That's ENTICEING media.com. Thanks for listening to the What the Nell podcast.